Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge. It's going to be a great show as we lean into Thursday Night Football. We got a lot of picks for other sports today as well. We're always brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Richard Pierre's in the chat. We got Cleveland fan. We got Gus Dawson. We got Jason Pogwist, Aaron Bailey. Let's take a look at the recap screen. Not a lot to love here. Buckets, somebody described him as a monster yesterday. Yeah, 2-0. He has been really, really good. Mikey B and Martin Green don't have the best of days. SportsLine picks go 1 of 2 as we hit the college football bet, but the NHL pick didn't really come super close there. So we go 3-5 overall, mostly thanks to a SportsLine pick and buckets. Let's maybe change that around to 5-3 or even better. With the stars of the show, we got Larry Hartstein, we got Mike McClure, we got PropStarz. Larry, this means with this crew, this means we must have Thursday Night Football. Are you excited about this game tonight?
I really am, because we've seen Denver in so many tight games where they just squeak it out at the end, and now you're asking them to cover a pretty big number at home against a division rival. So a lot of people like the Raiders early in the week. It started at 10, got down as low as 8.5, and I guess we can talk a little bit later about which way I'm going.
Yeah, Mike, one thing we talked about on the Monday show when we were looking at look-ahead lines, you did, and I wonder if your mind has changed over, the last two and a half days. I think you were leaning on the Raiders because it was a lot of points, division game. What are your thoughts? It's not an official play. I'm just curious because I know you have a pick, but what would you lean toward here in terms of the spread?
Where it's at currently, I'm still slight Raiders lean. As you mentioned, kind of Monday when we talked about the opener at 10, like the Raiders at 10, just such a big number in a divisional game, the way these two teams are likely to play. I'm optimistic on the Raiders side, though, with having Brock Bowers back in the lineup. I think it really, really changes things for them offensively, but I also like the move to 12 personnel. I think that's really a system that Geno Smith can be set up for success in. And they really do have two great tight ends on the field with Brock Bowers and Mayer. I think there's a little optimism for me on the Raiders side.
It's interesting that the two players you just talked about with Mayer and Brock Bowers actually speaks to my prop, which I'll get to in just a little bit. But I tend to agree with you, Mike. Jacob Couture in the chat says lock at 15 plus yards minus 125. So right now that has moved in some places to like 16.5. Yeah. I love that, Jacob. And I might actually put that in as an official play. You're going to hear about Tyler Lockett later on in the show to some degree, but I think that's a really good look. We can talk about that later. We are taking your questions on this game, so put them in the chat, whether they're proper or really otherwise related here. PropStarz, are you excited about this game?
I'm always excited about Thursday Night Football, but a division matchup between what has been one of the best defenses in the NFL in the Broncos. As far as their offense is concerned, I still feel like there's some meat on the bone there. There's still some untapped upside with this Bo Nix-led offense. But I think Denver is a solid football team through all three phases. Then when we were talking about the Raiders, Mike mentioned Brock Bowers, his impact on the field, not just having him back, but having him healthy back. He's definitely one of the biggest weapons in the NFL, just his ability to move all over the field. He really is similar to a wide receiver. So he's phenomenal. I think this is a big boost to Geno. I agree about the heavy personnel really benefiting Geno. I think Geno's at his best when play action is a big threat, and they're able to utilize that. And then having a more traditional inline tight end like Mayer paired with a move tight end like Bowers, who's just a matchup nightmare for defenses, really puts a lot of pressure on. So I think this Raiders offense certainly has a little bit of juice and life left. I think this could be a sneaky good game.
Joe says Buckets is on fire still. Buckets is in the chat. Jen M says, I boycotted the candy bracket, which the show was yesterday. It went 2 hours, by the way. And I'm telling you, if you watch that show, it is a great 2 hours. Have it on in the background. She says, I boycotted the candy bracket because Cadbury mini eggs were left off. Yeah, but we had the real Cadbury eggs, and we talked about that quite a bit, Jen. Katie Taylor was in the chat. A lot of people in this chat. Richard Pierre. There were so many people that were watching that show. It was really, really good stuff. Does anybody care to know who was in the finals? It was Reese's Peanut Butter Cups versus, believe it or not, Nerds made the finals. Any thoughts, anyone? As Nerds was a surprise to me.
Huge surprise. I think Reese's Peanut Butter Cup That makes a lot of sense. Nerds, totally different. I feel like Nerds compared to Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, they have a short shelf life. You eat a couple of them, and then you're kind of sick of them. So yeah, I think Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is at least a double-digit favorite here.
I will post the bracket, the finished product bracket in an hour or so on the Twitter. Let's get to some picks, though. Mike McClure, people are always looking to you for a first quarter cash, maybe a first half cash, maybe a first half team total. Is that the direction you're leading us tonight?
It is. It's a little different than usual, though. And I already see a few questions asking if I like the Broncos first half team total. I don't. I wouldn't bet the under on it, but I am taking the over on the Raiders first half team total at 7.5 plus 110. I like the price point at plus 110. Agree with the number itself at 7.5, but I priced it all the way down to minus 125 here. I'm optimistic on the Raiders and this team offensively here. I know that you're losing a guy like Jacoby Myers, and that changes things. You don't necessarily get to take advantage of Denver potentially being beat up in the secondary, but having Brock Bowers back is way more of a benefit here. And again, we touched on it already to start the show. I think that moving to more 12 personnel is a natural fit for Geno Smith. I think it's going to help Ashton Genty a little bit, but I really think it's going to just help the offense overall with Geno delivering the football to both Brock Bowers and Mayer, the two tight ends. Mayers is an extremely talented tight end that's going to benefit greatly from having a guy like Brock Bowers on the field at the same time. I just think there's a little optimism and reason for optimism here in a divisional matchup like this. I think that the market got a little too low on the Raiders, who, again, they were terrible offensively early in the season, but I think things changed drastically having what Alex mentioned as one of the best weapons in the NFL on the field. So I like the Raiders here to ultimately score 10 points in this first half. Going to go over 7.5 here. Again, the reason for it, the price point plus 110.
All right, we're taking the Raiders first half team total over 7.5 at plus 110. Some stuff going on in the chat here. Tyler Graham, and Mike, I'll get right back to you in a second. He says, maybe it wasn't an official play, but Ben's producer pick, Nuggets first quarter minus 2.5 cashed also. And I meant to say that. So Ben has been really just super sharp producing this show, but also with his pick. So I was telling him before the show, I'm sure, even though it wasn't a quote official pick, people listened to his analysis and, of course, probably laid that bet. So, Tyler, thank you for pointing that out. And Gipper's pick says, UFC, my favorite prop, just dropped this morning. Josh Hokett, I think I'm pronouncing that right, I'm not sure, versus Max Jimenez, fight to start second round minus 130. We know how sharp Gipper's picks is, so you might want to follow that as well. Mike, you had a follow-up comment on your play.
Yeah, just see people in the chat. Someone mentioned 9.5 versus 7.5. Not a large difference in the first half between a 9.5 and a 7.5 in the NFL. So yeah, but still played at 9.5 at plus 118 or whatever they mentioned.
Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, since both Alex and Mike have already touched on the impact that Brock Bowers has had on this Raiders team, one of my plays, which is on the site, is Riley Moss over 4.5 tackles and assists, because he actually covers Brock Bowers when these two teams play. In fact, he got hurt last year covering Brock Bowers. I hope he doesn't get hurt again. He was on the injury report with an ankle, but he doesn't have a game designation. There's no Patrick Surtain. And with those two tight end sets, Riley Moss will see a lot of Brock Bowers. He's a very willing tackler. He's fourth on the team this year with 43 tackles. He's gone over this all but twice this season anyway. So basically, barring re-injury, I love Riley Moss to get over 4.5.
All right. Love the shout out there. Buckets has given out plays in the chat. If any of these plays don't start right away, Buckets, if you wouldn't mind formalizing. Okay, there we go. He says, I love racing Strasburg over 1.5 team total today, hovering around minus 115. Would you mind, for the audio listeners, Buckets, I'd love to know if this starts in like the next 2 hours or if it starts this afternoon, because maybe the people listening to the podcast on Spotify or Apple, go rate and review, by the way, maybe they can get this if they're listening in the early afternoon. So maybe if somebody could clarify when this bet is, that would be super helpful. But Buckets, thanks for being in here and dropping sharp plays. PropStarz, you're pretty sharp. And I know that because I've been working with you for many years, and I do the prop show with you every Friday at 1 o'clock with Claudia and Uncle Dave. You've got a prop which you'll probably reintroduce on that show, and it relates to a guy who's looking pretty good with a little Jacoby Brissett action, but you're taking an under. Talk to me about Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, we're going under 58.5 receiving yards. This is simply a big line and inflated for Harrison Jr., likely coming off of the 96 yards he had last week versus the Dallas Cowboys. But looking at that Cowboys matchup, it was tailor-made for Marvin Harrison. Just horrible defense as far as Dallas pass defense is concerned. Dead last in EPA allowed per dropback, particularly guarding the perimeter of the field as well. They really struggle in the back end. So it made sense that Harrison took advantage of the matchup, had 10 targets in that game, but still didn't clear 100 yards, something that he hasn't done all season long. He's only had 10 targets in 2 games this season. So again, just he's more of a secondary option. His first read target rate is sub 15%. That's a low number. So he is a distant second in a passing attack that's led by Trey McBride. So looking at this matchup against Seattle, 10th in success rate, 13th in EPA per dropback, so it's a significantly more difficult matchup than the Dallas pass defense. I would also argue that Seattle's defense is elite. All the metrics certainly rated so. However, if you look at their season-long statistics as far as their pass defense is concerned, they're somewhat average or middling, or slightly above average, but that's due in large part to having missed numerous starters. Reek Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, both excellent players who missed the majority of the season. So their secondary is significantly more healthy than it's been pretty much since the start of the season. So I actually think their pass defense is better than it looks or appears in totality this year. But just a difficult matchup for Marvin Harrison. Seattle very good at keeping everything in front of them. I just don't think he's likely to replicate 10 targets. Also, if we look at him under center with Brissett, 3 games, he's averaging approximately 6 targets. That is his season-long average as well. So again, he continues not to be a focal point in the offense. Coming off of this big matchup versus Dallas where he had 10 targets, 96 yards, very unlikely to replicate that against the Seahawks. I think it's a very good spot to fade Marvin Harrison Jr. under 58.5 receiving yards.
Proppy, I have a follow-up question for you, and I might bounce this off Larry and Mike as well. As I look at the NFC futures, I just wonder how seriously we need to take the Seattle Seahawks. And I know the standard answer is, of course, you should take them seriously. But when I'm actually looking at the odds, I see the Rams at plus 400. They're leading the pack in most spots, most books. The Eagles pretty much tied or right behind them at plus 425. Again, this is just to win the NFC. I've got the Lions at plus 475. The Packers still hanging on at 4th place here at plus 500. And then it's Seattle at plus 550, slight drop off to Tampa Bay, and then a bigger drop off to San Francisco after that. And then everybody else is just everybody else. Is Seattle like bettable, you think? I mean, are you just laying off this market? What do you think about Seattle being 5th here in the NFC?
I think Seattle is like almost a mirror image of the Vikings last season. I think they're a very good regular season team led by Sam Darnold, who's definitely maximizing the system he's in. They're well coached. They have a very good defense, similar to the Minnesota Vikings last year. I think they're going to win between 12 and 14 games potentially, but I just don't think when they're going to play the elites in the NFC, I just think they're a notch or a tier below. So I think Seattle's a very good regular season team. They're very well coached. They compete hard every game. I do think the defense is very good, similar to how those Vikings defense last year. I just don't think you can count on them in the playoffs versus elite competition.
Larry.
I think getting Rashid Shaheed was a great move because, JSN, he has been burning basically every team, but the really good teams are going to find a way to blanket him, and you needed another option, and they got that option. And this is a guy that might be the fastest receiver in the league. He's going to widen the field. So I think there's a great shot for them. They're the DVOA best team in the entire NFL and the 4th best team of all time so far. So DVOA absolutely loves them. I think, yes, they shouldn't be as low as they are.
Mike, your thoughts here. By the way, I think Seattle's good, but when I look at the NFC, to me, it's probably going to be Detroit, maybe Philly, but I love the Rams. Like a Rams Kansas City exacta for the Super Bowl sounds really good to me. Then again, last week I thought it would be Detroit in Kansas City, so I keep changing my mind. Mike, your thoughts here.
I think the guys have said it. We've all kind of said it perfectly. I think they're good, not great. I don't think anyone's like pounding the table. The Seahawks are the best team in the NFC. Yeah. They're a Super Bowl favorite. Like I don't think anyone's ready to get there. So I would say they're kind of properly rated where they're at. Like I've got them, fourth in the NFC personally. I still have the Eagles at the top, but yeah, I think they're fine. I think they're a deserving playoff team. I'm not ready to consider them a Super Bowl contender at this point, but I will acknowledge the fact that they have the talent to go get it done, and I won't be surprised if they find a way to do it. But I think the likely outcome is a good regular season and an early playoff exit.
Proppy, final thought here.
Yeah, Larry mentioned Rashid Shaheed. Just wanted to mention we've seen the landscape shift as far as the NFL trade deadline is concerned. Previously, there was very little movement as far as significant players being moved. That has since changed. We've seen the Eagles acquire players, Jalen Phillips, again, the Cowboys, Quentin Williams as well, Sauce Gardner for the Colts, Rashid Shaheed. So it's very interesting to see the contending teams acquire talented players at the NFL trade deadline. So I do like the move from Seattle picking up Shaheed, and I do think a lot of the strongest teams got stronger.
Yeah, let's get to some more picks. But before we do that, let's get to a couple of, that's 2 BetMGM promos. Get your stake back in cash if your first touchdown scores second instead. And we will have first touchdown scores later on in the show. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Also, with BetMGM's hat trick jackpot, you have the chance to win your share of $10,000 in bonus bets. Just place an anytime goal score wager. And if your guy scores 3+ goals during that game, you will win a share of $10,000 in bonus bets. It's the hat trick jackpot. All right, we got SportsLine picks. Speaking of hat tricks, we got 3 SportsLine picks. Suns money line from Matt Severance, -130. I believe there's just that one NBA game tonight. College basketball, Tom Casale, -22.5. Auburn -22.5 at -120. And then in the NHL, Nashville Predators money line -110, says our guy, Jeff Hockman. Go ahead, Larry.
I should point out that Hockman hit his first 6 NHL plays of the season, and then he lost in a shootout either last night or the night before. And he told me he's coming back with a vengeance with this play.
I love it. So that would have been 2 days ago when he was on the show. He would have lost that bet. He won the 2
Correct.
prior that he was on the show with. Jeff Hockman's just super sharp. So very much looking forward to getting his picks in SportsLine, but also on this early edge show. Again, make sure you're subscribed here. We got to get to more picks for Thursday Night Football. We got to get to your questions. Keep throwing your questions out for Thursday Night Football. We will answer them. We'll cover it all right after this message from our partners.
Only CBS Sports can bring you big time during the heart of Saturday afternoons. It's big time.
It's big time. It's big time. It's big time.
On CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're back on the early edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Larry, before we get to your 2 picks, I'm going to go ahead and give my pick out. And this is one of those, kind of like the Dak Prescott one that we gave out with the under 25.5 completions, which we hit, by the way. This is one of those where you're not going to love it. And that's okay. And again, if you don't love it, you don't have to take it. I don't like Geno Smith. I've been pretty vocal, and it's not like I'm breaking any news when I say it, that Geno Smith's been like completely terrible, one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. With all that said, I do think that that's depressing his line just enough to take it. Not with his yardage necessarily, but with his completions. Now, you might say, well, Geno Smith's been really inefficient. This is a great Denver Broncos defense. Why wouldn't you just defer to the attempts? I mean, the attempts is 31, 32, 33.5, depending on where you look. Here's why I like the completions. As inefficient as Geno Smith is, I do think Chip Kelly and company, Pete Carroll, I think you have to use the short area passing game. And I think you're going to be a lot more efficient. Like we saw last week against Jacksonville, when you've got a guy like Brock Bowers, you're probably going to be feeding him in the short area, in the middle of the field, which can be an exposable spot for the Denver Broncos. Michael Mayer's going to get in the action there as well. Maybe Trey Tucker, maybe Tyler Lockett. Some of those guys get looks. Genty out of the backfield, we know is a guy that's been catching some passes lately. I'm going to take the over 19.5 completions. I feel like there's 2 ways this game can go. Broncos could absolutely blow out the Raiders, in which case in the fourth quarter, I could see 6, 7, maybe 8 completions in garbage time for Geno Smith, where he easily clips this number. The other one is this is a competitive game. If it's a competitive game, it's not going to be due to the running game because Genty just doesn't have any room to run, and he's certainly not going to find room to run against this Denver rush defense. To me, the only path for the Raiders is the short area, efficient passing game as an extension of the run. So give me Geno Smith over 19.5 completions at -111. Again, 19.5, a pretty low number. I wouldn't play this at 20.5. Any reaction, anybody, to this? I'm not looking for an endorsement. This is a scary one. Like, I'm not a big Geno guy. Larry, would you go with the attempts here?
No, I like your play. I think the number seems a little bit low given the potential game script and given that, the Raiders offensive line is not creating any separation. Ashton Genty is actually running well in terms of the yards after contact, but they're not opening a lot of holes. So I don't expect them to have a good game on the ground, which means it's going to be all on Geno and potentially playing from behind. So I like it.
All right. Let's go to what you like as an official play, Larry. You've got a couple of picks, one against the spread, and a prop that I like as well. Talk to me.
Well, the Raiders' last 3 trips on the road, 41-24 at Washington. They were never in the game. 40-6 at Indy. 31-0 at Kansas City. So you can see where I'm going with this. They're going on the road on a short week to altitude. They just had 77 plays defensively, a full overtime game. Some of these games go to overtime, the game ends 2 minutes. This game went to the end of overtime. The defense is completely gassed. There's a lot of stats and trends that talk about teams that play that overtime game and then have a short turnaround, not faring very well. And the Broncos, we know that they have squeaked out a lot of games, but if you look at the games they have blown out, it's against the bad teams, the Cowboys, the bad defenses, the Cowboys and the Bengals. I think it's going to be a smash spot for the Broncos at home. Bo Nix is going to play well in a much softer matchup. Going from facing that Houston defense, number 1 against the pass, to facing the Raiders is going to be a pleasure for them. I just think the Broncos win this by 10 or more. And then Cortland Sutton over 53.5 is what I got. Posted it a couple of days ago. Maybe yesterday or the day before. Now Marvin Mims is ruled out and the number's up to 58.5 at a lot of books. I'm still fine going over. He's over this in all 4 of his home games. And if you look at the Raiders, they've given up the 3rd most receiving yards to outside receivers. Troy Franklin, I think, has a little bit of a tougher matchup in terms of the slot. But I just think this is a game where Cortland Sutton only had 1 catch against the Texans. This is a classic bounce back spot. There's no Stingley. There's no Sauce Gardner, some of the elite corners that have shut him down this year. There's nobody like that on the Raiders. So I like Cortland Sutton over on yards.
Does anybody want to speculate with me on the other side of the ball with Tyler Lockett? Is that just, you talked about heavy personnel, like maybe Tyler Lockett doesn't see the field a ton and we're not exactly sure what's going on with Besh and who's going to get the playing time, but Tyler Lockett played under Pete Carroll for a long time, played with Geno Smith for a long time. They went out and got him. His prop line in some places opened at like 15.5. It's 16, 17.5 in some places. Is that just proppy? I know you hate to speculate on stuff like this in particular, but Tyler Lockett, is it ringing any bells for you? Is it something you'd want to look into?
I think you made a solid case for it. Certainly capable of getting there in just 1 reception, and it should be. I do think that we're going to see the Raiders move the football through the pass. So I don't particularly have a strong inclination one way or the other, but I certainly think you made a compelling argument for it.
All right, let's go to David Talk. He says, and Ben, try to flag some of these questions and bets from the chat so we can get to them all here. David Talk says, Bo Nix plus 1.5 touchdowns. Okay, so 1.5 throwing touchdowns, I guess he's saying, over 1.5 touchdowns, a -130, and Geno interception. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Geno's actually been the worst quarterback in the league under pressure, and he's facing the team that leads the NFL with 40 sacks, that is number 3 in pressure rate with a 43% pressure rate. Now, a lot of those games he didn't have Brock Bowers, so that's kind of the caveat. When Geno's going back to throw, and he's under pressure, he's going to be looking for Brock Bowers. And he didn't have that for several games. He didn't have a healthy Brock Bowers for barely any game this season. That's what gives me a little bit of pause on the Geno INT, and obviously no Patrick Surtain out there for the Broncos. But I still think he will throw one.
RJ, and yeah, no, Patrick Surtain is a good thing to bring up there too. But yeah, I still think he'll throw one too. RJ Harvey over 13.5 receiving yards, minus 115. So, Mike, any thoughts on RJ Harvey's impact in this game? I mean, he's been catching, he's been really efficient with the balls he's been receiving here. I looked at his rushing and receiving line. I think was 36.5. I thought that was interesting. Any thoughts on RJ Harvey?
Not a ton of thoughts. Extremely efficient, as you mentioned. Trying to look back through, essentially has caught every target that's gone his way this season, which it speaks to being extremely talented. It speaks to the quality of the throw and the route itself, but also something probably not sustainable. So these running back receiving numbers are again kind of very game script dependent, and just the way plays break down. I don't like to back them unless we're talking about true elite superstars, Christian McCaffrey, things like that. So I would be off of it. I will go back to Tyler Lockett quickly for you. I do like Lockett's number. I'm projecting him around 24 yards tonight. So I they don't play a ton of zone, but Lockett has had the ability to kind of find those spots in the zone. And when Brock Bowers is inevitably getting doubled later in this game, I could see Tyler Lockett having some opportunity.
PropStarz, you had some thoughts as well.
That was Mike's diplomatic way of saying running back receiving props are fool's gold. But I would also offer regarding RJ Harvey, he passed the eye test to me. When I watch RJ Harvey, he looks very talented and explosive and dynamic. Frankly, I think he has a strong case similar to Marvin Mims. I think this is like one of Sean Payton's problems as a coach, is not letting talented younger players get more playing time. So I think RJ Harvey deserves to be on the field more. When he's been on the field, he's been extremely explosive and dynamic. He's been chunking big plays. I think Dobbins, exactly what he is. Is he above average starter? Sure. But I think RJ Harvey offers a little bit more. I'm surprised he's not getting more touches in that offense, but I do like him quite a bit as a player.
Yeah, Larry, before you go here, again, I think rushing and receiving, especially on a featured game where Sean Payton wants to tell everybody like how smart he is. Like we saw it with the last featured game, all the featured games with Denver. He's always pulling some tricks out of his sleeves. A lot of them don't work, but I could see him featuring RJ Harvey and trying to prove to the world how smart he can be. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, especially without Marvin Mims tonight. And I don't think they knew what they had when they drafted RJ Harvey. I mean, he averaged 6.5 yards a carry at Central Florida. He wasn't really a receiver. And then he got there and they were, wow, this guy's an amazing hands and he's amazing in the open field. And now that's his role. He's already set a franchise record with 4 receiving touchdowns as a rookie running back, 23 catches, 166 yards. But yeah, last week they needed him. Nothing was working offensively. So he had the career highs, 5 for 51. You just wonder if they're going to be in that situation tonight where they need to throw to RJ Harvey.
Proppy, go ahead.
Also worth mentioning, I was on RJ Harvey's season-long rushing total heading in to the season, and this does appear to be a misfire on my part, barring an injury to J.K. Dobbins. And the reason being was that Dobbins was signed after they drafted RJ Harvey, which indicated to me and a lot of other people who were backing RJ Harvey that Dobbins was more of an afterthought. He didn't fit in necessarily to their early plans as far as the running back position was concerned. So I really expected RJ Harvey to be more in the offense. Surprising that he's not, considering how good he looks on the field. Obviously not seeing how he practices or his pass protection necessarily, but what I've seen from him, he looks exceptional to me. So I do believe that RJ Harvey deserves more playing time, and hopefully we see that in the second half of the season.
Yeah, he's dynamic for sure. I can't say it enough about J.K. Dobbins, though, that he has, I hate to use the word survived here, but survived these injuries and is a very good contributor. Again, along with Sterling Shepard. I bring those guys up a lot because guys like that have injuries that usually dismiss you from the league. And these guys are usually forgotten. And it's just a shout out to J.K. Dobbins for keeping it up. By the way, his line is 15.5 rushing attempts, and it's in that 70 to 73 rushing yards range. I'd probably lean, if nobody asked, but I'd probably lean on the over 15.5 rush attempts, although that's admittedly pretty high. All right, let's go to Jeff Stenberg has a question about Jack Bash, which is interesting. Aaron Bailey says, can I get a shout out today? November 6, 2020, I was literally dying in a hospital, he says, and got a life-saving transplant. And I've heard this story from Aaron before, and he says, God is good. So Aaron, congratulations. I know you've been sober for quite some time as well. We've talked about that in my Discord. So very happy to hear that, and congratulations and happiest of anniversaries. Larry, what do you think of Jack Bash? 4+ receptions, says Jeff Stenberg, at plus 750. He says, with Jacoby gone, can we ride Bash to the moon? So, I mean, any thoughts on this receiver room once you get outside of Trey Tucker, Larry?
Yeah, I liked Trey Tucker over 3.5 catches, but the juice is gotten out of hand. You know, it was 115. Now you're looking at, 145 as the cheapest thing that's out there right now. That was the way I was looking at it. I'm not touching Jack Bash.
Yeah, that's fair. If you were, though, you may as well try to get him to spike, maybe with the yardage ladder type stuff. Let's see. Mike, there was a question about the Eagles plus 2.5. I know that's not about this game, but any thoughts on the Eagles plus 2.5?
Yes, absolutely love it. I love the Eagles plus 2.5 this week.
Does anybody, Jeffrey Aguilar says, go ahead. Proppy, go ahead.
I just wanted to repeat what Mike said.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Jeffrey Aguilar says, go ahead, Mike.
It's the WTF play of the week. It is the true wrong team favored special. Yeah. Wow.
All right. Good question. Eagles plus 2.5. Thoughts on Broncos team total? Jeffrey Aguilar says, do we know what the team total is? Anyone? I mean, we could figure it out real quick, but Jeffrey, if you could just put the actual team total, that would be super helpful as I race through questions.
26.5.
26.5. Any thoughts, anybody?
Hi.
Yeah, I'm just checking it here. Yeah, I'm definitely leaning over. There's even some 27.5s popping. Definitely leaning over that.
Yeah, the number and the price when you're asking questions is always going to be the most helpful thing you can do. I love the questions regardless. What do you think about Knicks over 20.5 rushing yards? Anybody want to take that one? I lean to the over there.
He's certainly got the ability to do it. I think the game script will matter. I think the game will be competitive enough. Let's see where I've got him. I got him right at 19.5. So no opinion from me, unfortunately.
Ian Cruis says, Mike, what about the Raiders team touchdowns over 1.5 at minus 130? That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think that you're looking for 17 to 20 points tonight from the Raiders. I do think they ultimately score a second touchdown in the game. So yeah, I don't mind it.
This one's interesting from Thomas Mickles, because this is not something I've really ever looked at. Larry, I'm going to bounce this off of you. Knicks and Geno to have 15 passing yards in each quarter plus 130.
Wow. I mean, it sounds very doable when you put it like that. It sounds very doable. I guess you just have to, hope you don't get a 10-minute possession and a 3 and out on the other side. But I don't play those kind of props, but it seems very doable.
Carson Battley, PropStarz. We haven't really talked a lot about Brock Bowers, at least as it relates to his props. He says Brock Bowers over 6.5 receptions. Your thoughts?
I lean over on Brock Bowers. Obviously going to have a significant workload in this game, but the numbers are efficient, in my opinion, his yards as well. So love Brock Bowers, high upside, one of the best players in the NFL for my money. But yeah, I think the numbers, I think last week was the week to get in on Brock Bowers.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, just for some context on that, Brock Bowers, I would not want to line up to go play unders on him tonight really at this spot, but the overs, like you talk about Mims being out and some of the other things, he's still clearing Cortland Sutton's line by 14 yards currently in the prop market. So it's the lines are healthy at this point, and you're not fooling anyone by attacking Brock Bowers in this game after last week.
Larry, that reminds me, I don't know if you addressed it when you gave out your Cortland Sutton take, but how high would you play the Cortland Sutton line?
Yeah, about 58.5. I mean, I think he's going to get into the 60s, but that's about the ceiling.
I want to get to first touchdown scores. Joseph Akers, this is a really important comment, and I very much appreciate it. If your question doesn't get answered, he says, I'd recommend joining the Discord where experts will comment on all your questions and picks. Really astute comment because it's absolutely true. And if you're a SportsLine member, you get the SportsLine Discord for free. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, and at 3 p.m. today, Prop Bet Guy will be in there talking NFL and NBA. And then at 7:30, Meg Schaub will be in there talking touchdown plays, other NFL props, not only for Thursday night, but for the whole slate. And
Meg Schaub, me and Mike McClure will be recording Fantasy Football Today DFS, which will be in your podcast feed and on the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel, probably around 12:30, 1 o'clock. So look out for that and join our $5 FFT DFS Week 10 contest. All right, first touchdown scores, and then we'll get everybody out of here. Let's start with Mike. I'll give you the floor on Brock Bowers.
Yeah, just Brock Bowers is back. He is an absolute weapon. He is a weapon in the red zone. He's a weapon from anywhere on the field. He's got great speed. Just like this spot, he's 10-1. The reason he's 10-1 is because the team is playing on the road on a short week as essentially a 10-point underdog. But he's, we just looked at the props, right? Yardage, receptions, leading the way for everybody in this game. The volume should be there for Brock Bowers.
Can I just say, Thorb is in the chat and he says, Michael Mayer, everything. And so I always, when we get tight end first touchdown props, I'm always thinking of the backup or like just maybe a starter that's like not very, very good, like Adam Troutman on the Broncos side. But I feel like this is that game where Michael Mayer or Adam Troutman catch a first touchdown. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there for a sprinkle. PropStarz, you agree on Bowers. Anything to elaborate on, though?
Shout out on your previous Donald Parham call, Sia.
Yes. Yes, Donald Parham. Oh, man, I missed that guy for first touchdown looks. RJ Harvey, says Larry Hartstein. This is a good one.
I mean, 3 straight weeks he has a receiving touchdown. He has 2 rushing touchdowns in that span. He has 5 touchdowns. That's only second to Jonathan Taylor in that span. And they use him on these wheel routes. And with Marvin Mims being out, that's the kind of guy that Sean Payton could dial up, even if he's not on the field in that first drive. You can bring him on a second or a third down and give him the wheel route and he takes it to the house. I mean, we have seen him just be electric as a receiver. So give me 10-1 on RJ Harvey.
Rick Funcannon says the NBA Discord channel is absolute fire. A lot of sharp SportsLine members in there. Yes, that's the thing about the Discord is it's not just the experts giving out picks. It's the SportsLine members giving out picks as well. Super sharp people, super sharp group in all of these separate channels in the SportsLine Discord. I'm going to Tyler Lockett, 45-1. By the way, Ben, you're entitled to give a first touchdown look here as well. I don't see why you shouldn't be getting in on the fun, but listen, I mean, I'm just kind of shooting for the moon here. Tyler Lockett, Geno Smith, they just signed him. I feel like they want to use him. And actually, the 2-point conversion, if memory serves, against Jacksonville, that was a target to Tyler Lockett. It got batted down at the line of scrimmage, but I'm pretty sure Tyler Lockett was going to catch that thing. I might be remembering that wrong, but I do think a comfy safety blanket, if he's on the field for Geno Smith, and if Brock Bowers is, let's say, bracketed, for example, Tyler Lockett could be that guy that Geno looks to right away as a second read. Larry, go ahead.
I was pulling for the Jaguars in that moment because my son is a huge Jaguars fan. We were watching together. But when you watch Geno Smith, that was the easiest batted down pass because he's like, I'm dialing in. He didn't look anywhere else. And the guy was like, okay, I'll just lift my hands up. He didn't really have to like sky high to knock it down, but he was open.
Larry, I got to give you credit, and I think you mentioned this in the chat, and we'll leave on this, but you did hit the first touchdown score on Monday, and you asked the question in the chat very quietly but very loudly. You said, hey, has anybody on this show ever hit the first touchdown score on Monday and then on Thursday? And I'm not 100% sure if that's happened. Probably.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I've hit one.
Oh, Monday and Thursday?
Yeah.
I believe it.
Well, let's go to the tape. I want proof.
We're going to have to go back in the archives. I was wondering if I had done it. I've had a couple of good first touchdown years. This is certainly not one of them. But Larry, you're trying to go back to back here. This would be at least big for 2025.
Let's do it. I mean, and both of them are like right in that 10, 11-1 range. So they're not like super long shots that, pretty realistic.
Jen M says, are first touchdowns any more sensible bets than parlays? First touchdowns aren't sensible at all. So let's just get that out of the way. These are just fun sprinkle bets if you want to take them at all. So we're trying to have fun with first touchdown bets. Parlays is a whole separate question. But again, we're having fun. You don't have to take these first touchdown bets if you don't want to. And to the extent people do, they're literally putting maybe a couple bucks down on it. And that's a wrap on that. Speaking of a wrap, we got to get to the recap screen. Geno Smith over 19.5 completions at -111. Do not play this at 20.5. I would consider the pass attempts as well, but I prefer, believe it or not, Geno Smith completions. I can't believe I actually said that out loud. Broncos -8.5, -112, says Larry Hartstein. And Cortland Sutton over 53.5 receiving yards, -115. He said he'd play it up to 58.5. Raiders first half team total over 7.5 at +110, says Mike McClure. And Marvin Harrison Jr. under 58.5 receiving yards, -115, says PropStarz. That one, of course, for Sunday. Got a few SportsLine picks here as well. The Suns money line, -130 from Matt Severance. Auburn, -22.5 at -120 from Tom Casale. And the Nashville Predators money line, -110 from Jeff Hockman. Of course, on SportsLine, there's going to be a lot more picks throughout the day. So make sure you become a member of SportsLine. If you want to do that, go to sportsline.com/join. Type in the promo code WINNERS. You'll get 60% off the annual plan. First touchdown scores. Tyler Lockett for me, 45-1. Kind of a wild one. Here's some realistic ones, though. RJ Harvey at 10-1 and Brock Bowers at 10-1. Say Mike McClure, PropStarz, and Larry Hartstein. What a great show. Richard Pierre says, Buena suerte, la familia. Good luck, family. I'm bilingual because I was able to decode that. Richard Pierre, thanks for being in here. Get the bag, Nelly. Snug the cat. So many people in here. We appreciate it every single day. We'll be here for BPE Friday tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Take a look for FFT DFS in your podcast feed as well. Mike, I'll see you soon for that show. Larry, thank you. PropStarz, thank you. Mike, thank you. And of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 6s and 7s. Appreciate your work as usual. Ladies and gentlemen, we rest our case.